Welcome in, college ball fans. We are here as a time of celebration. We have made it to the conclusion of the college football season. There was a championship game. I will not have much to say about it. But, as always, my partner in crime here, Mr. James Lilliquist. James, how we doing over there, man? Oh, so we're celebrating, huh?
Some would say celebrating. Some would say, drowning your sorrows, because now not only was one rival a dynastic type team, now I have two rivals.
Well, James,
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
It's going to become an expensive habit, okay?
I mean, and I'm a Tennessee fan, sir. My liver has already been prepared for this.
Right. There are a couple of things I want to talk about before we go into whatever the hell that happened last night. We were talking about some recruiting news earlier. You said Jaden Rashada asked for his release from his letter of intent to Florida. He was the one early enrollee they were waiting on, and he never showed up on campus.
He just never showed up.
And I laugh about this. 247 has him going back to Miami, which is who he was originally committed to. And you and I picked Auburn as the other team to kind of watch out for there. Just because Hugh Freeze hadn't been able to land a quarterback yet, which is really odd for Hugh Freeze.
And it's also it's Hugh Freeze. We're talking a guy who
somebody's going to go play quarterback for him and put up Xbox-like numbers.
You will put up Xbox-like numbers, but I mean, he's also just known to do. He's not afraid to. What's the best way to put it? Look bad. He's not afraid to do that. So
he'll take a chance on you.
Oh yeah, he'll take a chance. Well, he's got no other choice right at the moment. So
unless you're just that sure. About
you almost did
Robbie Ashford.
You almost did it.
I did it. I almost did it. Unless you're that sure about either Robbie Ashford, or whoever's already there. I can't think what the other quarterback's name is.
The other guy who can't throw a football. Yes,
right. Because nobody knows him to throw a football. Yeah. The other one we talked about was Dylan Raiola, 2024 number one quarterback, committed to Nebraska. His dad's on staff in Nebraska. Flipped his commitment to Ohio State. And flip season is here. Yeah. And a little birdie told me that Georgia may be working on flipping number one quarterback Dylan Raiola from Ohio State. James, I have tortured you all day with Ra Thomas and Dominic Lovett. Not to mention Brock Bowers is back next year.
This is fine.
So what are your thoughts? First of all, what are your thoughts on the Jaden Rashada thing? Because we had an extensive conversation about that earlier today.
So I usually go under the classic mannerism of goofy recruitment, goofy career.
Right.
So and this is by far becoming more and more goofy as we keep going.
We try to keep the college ball over here, but this is it almost makes the Carlos Correa thing laughable.
Oh,
it almost.
You're just trying to hit. You're just trying to.
It almost makes the Carlos Correa thing in baseball look laughable. You start out in Miami, you flip to Florida, you flip back to Miami or wherever he's going to end up. And there was the one. Who was the one that transferred to like Notre Dame, then Oklahoma, then somewhere else, then back to Oklahoma, all in the same.
Most of these guys don't really pan out because what was the TCU running back last year that went to Ole Miss and then got supplanted? Zach Evans did the same goofy recruitment when he was starting in high school.
And he was, I think, the number one running back in the portal last year.
He was. Just shows that not everybody understands the portal just yet. So I'm gonna allow the professionals to make those decisions on those players. So yes, absolutely. Robert Thomas is probably going to ball out next year. So is DeAndre Thompson out of Oregon transferring to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Tennessee's killed the portal.
Huh?
Tennessee has killed the portal.
They have. The yesterday they did. What was it? 3 or was it Monday? 3 recruitments.
Yeah, and because we were talking about something, and Tennessee's incoming recruits hadn't been encountered that day.
Yes. because and then they get Thompson. So pretty much they're pretty much begging Joe Milton try to overthrow this guy as he will yeet the ball, and then you get the defensive lineman and offensive lineman.
I am not going to try to pronounce this guy's last name. Nico, I'm gonna wear my pajamas.
Yeah, Nika, I'm in a pajama. Yeah,
I'm gonna wear my pajamas. I think for Tennessee to be good next year, let me rephrase that. For Tennessee to raise their level of play, I don't feel like Joe Milton is the guy to do that for y'all next year. I have seen too many. We saw when he first transferred to Tennessee, his inability to be accurate consistently, and I didn't really mean to go down this route, but here we are. I just don't think that he is going to be consistent enough to keep Tennessee at that 10 or 11 win mark.
I agree that here's what makes me feel confident that either they think Milton is the guy or Nico's the guy. Is they didn't go get a quarterback in the portal.
Absolutely.
I feel like they had.
Well, let's not pretend that there wasn't interest in certain quarterbacks, though.
No, there wasn't. There was interest. There was opening interests, and then they went other places once they became official.
Because let's see, I know Sam Hartman was one of the names that ended up.
Sam Hartman was one of the names that got floated out.
In Notre Dame.
He ended up in Notre Dame, which is a great pickup. Great pickup for them.
Absolutely. Devin Leary, I think at one point looked at Tennessee.
Yeah.
There was one other quarterback. Wasn't Hudson Card looking at Notre Dame?
No, it was the kid out of Oklahoma State.
Spencer Sanders.
Which
still blows my mind that nobody's signed him yet.
Well, and this is what shows me that I don't think it was that they actively didn't go after another quarterback. They fielded offers, saw what Milton and Nico had, and said, "We're good."
Right.
Which is either arrogance or they're really confident in Nico's ability.
We talked about it a little bit. I think it speaks volumes. One, that he's there already.
Yes.
And two, he traveled down to Miami for the Orange Bowl.
He practiced all 15 practices.
Absolutely. So he has been in all those. And this is one thing we talked about. How do you get consistent quarterback play? When you have quarterback turnover, you have your guys in there in December.
Mm-hmm.
Their first practice should be bowl prep. It shouldn't be spring practice. That's how you get freshmen in there who are, I'm not going to say ready because the SEC is a different animal, but you're more prepared. But we talked about, he's going to benefit from a year in that weight room.
He will, and hopefully that Samoan blood, helps put some meat on that bone because he's a little skinny.
Absolutely.
But my God, is he an athlete?
Well,
I mean, national champion in volleyball, for God's sakes.
That's all, sir. We're going to go from one Tennessee topic to the other. The College Football Hall of Fame inductees came out this week.
Yes.
Everybody's going to get a mention. I don't know how much we're going to talk about everybody because, James and I, we have
a rant. We have a rant built up for this.
We do. First one, your guy Eric Berry, defensive back, played from 2007 to 2009, 247 tackles, 3 sacks, 14 interceptions, 3 touchdowns.
The man I saw 3 times live.
Forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 7 interceptions in 2008, led the NCAA, 2007 SEC East champ, 2008 All-American, 2008 SEC Defensive Player of the Year, 2009 All-American, 2009 Thorpe Award winner. I'm all out of Eric Berry topics.
Oh, I'm not. I was there live. I was there live watching. I watched him helicopter a dude.
Yeah.
During that Alabama play, I was in the other side of the end zone. I watched that thing develop full speed. It was amazing. I was also there listening to Auburn fans yell, Eric Berry's selling popcorn in the stands because he's doing everything else for the damn team.
I remember him being a menace for those Tennessee teams.
Yeah.
You knew it was going to be a long day when you played when he was on wide receiver. When he was covering wide receiver 1, you knew it was going to be a long day.
The hit, it's still one of the most uncomfortable things to watch, but that lick he put on Noshawn Moreno during that game. I know. I think it ended a lot of his mystique right there. Is that he got bodied.
Well, from one guy that you have high praise for one
Yes.
guy who you need to send a thank you postcard to. Kansas State quarterback in 97 and 98, Michael Bishop. He went 22-3, 4,400 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 1,300 yards passing, 1,300 yards rushing, 23 more yards on the ground. Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year in 98, All-American, O'Brien Award winner. They won the Big 12 North. He finished second in the Heisman, and Kansas State finished third in the BCS Bowl that year.
But why does it not say Big 12 champion in 1998?
Because that would be Bob Stoops' Oklahoma Sooners. Gave them a whooping of a lifetime.
No, it was Texas A&M. It was Texas A&M in the Big 12 championship game.
Are you sure?
I am pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure I remember reading this in Bob Stoops' book that it was 1998 where they won the Big 12 title. I don't know. Continue. Get on your rant, and I'll correct me if I'm wrong.
I mean, you know, what could I say about this man? This is the guy that scared us the most during that wonderful 98 and 99 season.
It was A&M.
I knew it. I knew it was because sir, who won the national championship in 1998?
Survey says Navy.
Yeah, it was Navy. Absolutely. Yeah.
Navy.
Yeah. Well, there is a Navy at the University of Tennessee, but
according to ESPN, it's Peyton Manning in Tennessee.
Which is the greatest thing ever.
Peyton Manning was the quarterback in
the 1998 championship
and for the Indianapolis Colts. But
yes, and the first pick of the International Colts at the same time.
I digress.
Yeah, that was great. That was the WTF moment of that entire thing. But yes, no, Michael Bishop had one bad game, and it happened to be the Big 12 championship game. Which, fun fact, his teammate on special teams is now the special teams coach at Tennessee, Mike Eckler.
Nice. Another guy is somebody who is, especially nowadays, looked at more fond than what he was when he played. Reggie Bush at Southern Cal, 03 to 05. 3,100 yards rushing, 25 touchdowns, 1,300 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns, 111 kick returns, 4 touchdowns. This is kick and punt returns. He had 4 returned to the house. This is a mouthful. Are you ready?
Yeah.
2004, All-American, Offensive Player of the Year, Pac-12 champion, National Championship. 2005, AP Player of the Year, All-American, Doak Walker Award, Heisman, Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year, Walter Camp Player of the Year.
I think he did pretty good.
Yeah, and I don't care what anybody says. I will still include his Heisman because I think one of the bigger crimes, and we're going to get to the 3 biggest crimes. We have 3 big issues with this. This is non-Hall of Fame. This is more NCAA. Why have we not given Reggie Bush back his Heisman?
Because they're silly.
Well, that's the nice way to put it. What are your thoughts on Reggie Bush? I remember. I'm sorry. One last thing. I remember this was the USC team you love to hate. I remember him hitting that front back juke on the Fresno State player.
Oh God!
I just realized how just electric this guy was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I put money on USC to win that national championship in 2005 because I thought
against
that
Texas?
they were so good. Yeah, because they were. He was him and Matt Leinart. That was how could you just think how good Reggie Bush was. He made Alex Smith and Matt Leinart look so good that they gave it NFL contracts to.
You mean Carson Palmer?
Does it?
Alex
no. Leinart. He played Leinart too.
Yeah, but Carson Palmer played at USC before Matt Leinart. Alex Smith played at Utah. The other thing, like everybody talks about, and I'm not going to go deep into this guy. Lindell White was the thunder and lightning in that backfield.
Yes, he was.
Shout out to Lindell White.
Oh no! That entire team was stacked from front to back. It was insane. The wide receiving core was crazy. It was star studded. That was when Pete Carroll had it rolling.
Right. And
then and with a certain offensive coordinator, he shall not be named.
I'm going to act like I don't know who you're talking about because I really don't.
Lane Kiffin.
Oh, interesting. The next one, you and I kind of, I guess, didn't know that he wasn't in the Hall of Fame already. Defensive end Dwight Freeney from Syracuse, 98 to 01, 68 tackles, 34 sacks, 14 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries. 2001 All-American, Big East Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year.
I think his pro career overshadows how good he was in college.
I completely agree with you. Because when you think about those good Colts teams, it's Manning, it's Edgerrin James, it's Bob Sanders, it's Dwight Freeney, Marvin Harrison on the outside, Dallas Clark at tight end. You know,
the not great coach but great center Jeff Saturday.
And Jeff Saturday. I didn't want to bring that up. The next one we have is offensive lineman Robert Gallery. He played at Iowa from 2000 to 2003. Interesting fact I found out about him, he played tight end his freshman year at Iowa. 2003 was an All-American, and he won the Outland Trophy as the best offensive lineman in college football. Shocker, Iowa has a good offensive lineman.
Shocker, their tight ends are destined for glory.
Also, on a side note, who was the head coach there?
Was that still Kurt Ferentz?
That was Kurt Ferentz still.
Yeah. Mr. Offensive yardage doesn't mean anything in football.
My defense is going to score more touchdowns than my passing offense.
Thank you, Kentucky, for giving us that wonderful game.
Man, one of my favorite players in the Chip Kelly era, running back LaMichael James. I was going through this, putting this together. I forgot how electric he was. In his career, he had over 5,000 yards rushing, 53 touchdowns, 4 receiving, All-American. Doak Walker led Oregon to the national championship game that year. Him and DeAnthony Thomas in that backfield is what brought the spread option to the FBS level. He set the Pac-10 rushing record in 2010 as well. I just remember him being all electric. And James, you brought up the other Oregon running back that's obviously not going to go in the Hall of Fame.
The other Thunder and Lightning combo.
Right, and Thunder for a different reason.
Yes.
Thunder for a different reason.
That right hand, though. No, LaMichael James, when he came out and busted out on the scene, it was like watching something from the future. It was like watching arena football on a 100-yard stadium, watching them go.
I remember thinking, who the hell is going to catch that guy?
Nobody.
If you got him on the outsides, you weren't going to catch him.
Yeah, no. Once he got the corner, he was gone.
No. So that's a guy that, and I always love those Oregon teams because they did the ridiculous jerseys. And as a guy I was in my late teens, early 20s. Of course, that caught my eye. So I've followed Oregon for a while. I remember when they had Dennis Dixon.
Feeling old. Thank you for making me feel old now.
You're welcome, buddy. So I've watched his Oregon teams for a while. Linebacker Derek Johnson, you probably know a little bit more about this guy than I do. 458 tackles, 10.5 sacks, 9 interceptions, 30 forced fumbles, 11 recovers, 2003 All-American, 2004 Defensive Player of the Year and the Big 12, 2004 Nagurski, 2004 Butkus Award winner.
This dude was the prototypical middle linebacker of middle linebackers in college. I mean, he was the gold standard. He was everything. I just remember watching him play, just going like, "My God, just save something for the rest of us," because we're he would.
According to those stats, there wasn't much to say for anybody else.
No, there wasn't. He just kept eating, and it kept eating, and that's why I thought that USC was going to win because they didn't have Derek Johnson because he had gone to the NFL the year before.
Right. I'm not going to age anybody in our group, but our friend Keith might know this guy. Defensive tackle Bill Kohler out of Montana State. I know Keith's a big Montana State fan. The only thing I got on him is he's a 1973 FCS All-American. So if you're old enough to remember that guy, you're better than me.
Yeah, because he played a long time ago too. So the game's changed quite a bit.
Right. The other one we kind of talked about, he had a very short NFL career, which kind of caught everybody off guard. Linebacker Luke Kuechly, Boston College from 2009 to 2011, 532 tackles, 35.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 7 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, All-American in 2010, 2011 ACC Defensive Player of the Year, All-American, Butkus Award, Ronnie Loft Award, and Lombardi Award winner.
He was, and the other thing that sucked about his NFL career being it just got cut too short because of concussions. But, oh God! Wow, got to call him out like that, did you?
Hey,
Man, just came out with it.
He let the chopper. I know you're a fan of Montana State.
In his defense, you had that coming. You had that chopper. You had that chopper coming right at you.
That's all right. That's all right. It happens to the best of us. It was more. Kuechly, I know he's an avid Montana State fan.
Luke Kuechly was one of those first guys that started off as a safety and moved down to linebacker, and kind of showed that like athletic linebacker type. Him, Kiko Alonso were like the first guys I remember watching.
Kiko
being that smaller, that
hell of a linebacker at Oregon.
Hell of a linebacker.
One story I remember about Luke Kuechly, I watched him a lot, so I watched him. But Greg Olson tells a story about he's watching a Miami game, and Miami's playing Boston College, and there's this defensive player who gets the interception or gets the ball and runs. And he says, "Who is this white guy?" and then so he's listening to him talk about it. And he goes, he's at the Panthers, and the Panthers bring this guy in. And Greg Olson goes, "Oh, who's this guy?" And the guy goes, "Well, that's Luke Kuechly." "Oh, well, we better draft him." I hate that his NFL career got cut short, but I loved why he was so athletic.
Yes.
He, like you said, he was kind of that hybrid linebacker before everybody was a hybrid linebacker.
Exactly. That's what I say. He was kind of the blueprint of what the future linebackers were going to look like.
The next we have a receiver that you and I kind of talked about. It's like we remember him being good, but I don't feel like his stats are as good as I thought he was.
Yeah.
Jeremy Maclin in Missouri from 07 to 08. I remember him terrorizing. That was the 07 season was the year that Missouri and Kansas played to go to the Big 12 title game. And Missouri.
That's when they were like 1-2 or something really goofy.
2-4, I think.
Yeah, it was something really good. They were both in the top 5.
Absolutely, which was just absolutely ridiculous. 2,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, 12 yards per catch. Then he had 91 rushes for 668 yards, 6 touchdowns. He also brought back 5 kick or punt returns to the house, back-to-back All-Americans. Him and Chase Daniels terrorized the Big 12 for a year and a half.
He was one of the first times I actually was paying attention to the jet sweep motion.
Right.
And he just was so fast.
He was
a burner before they really had burners like that. And he was big enough to take a hit. Thinking back on it now, I'm like, oh yeah, he was great. But now, that's the hindsight.
He would have fit in great in this era of college football.
Oh God, he would have tore it up. He would have torn it all the way up.
He would have. I remember that very fondly for that 07 season is when people started paying attention to Gary Pinkel in Missouri.
And you know what? And Gary Pinkel would go on. That was the start of that, where he just went on an absolute tear for about 10 years.
Because then when Missouri came in the SEC, they won the SEC East like 3 years in a row.
Yeah. With a spread option.
And A&M came in with the same concept, and that's they beat Alabama in 2011.
That's what made those two made Nick Saban change his offensive ideas.
Absolutely, I agree. The next one is Terrence Mathis from New Mexico, 4,000 yards, 36 touchdowns in his 3 years in New Mexico. He was an All-American in '89. Obviously, that was before I was born, so I don't know much about him.
I remember Terrence Mathis more from the NFL.
Okay, well, if you have a good NFL story, then
oh no, I just remember him tearing it up. I forget who he played for. Hold on.
Gotcha.
Let me go to a sports information director.
Okay, the SID.
Yes.
You have him on speed dial. Is he awake this late?
Yeah, he is. He's up this late.
Good. Stats and info tells me that that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean he played a lot with that team really near you called the Atlanta Falcons.
Nice.
He played from 1994 to 2001.
Right.
Kind of good. He was kind of that guy who helped them get to the Super Bowl
in '98.
In 2002, he went. It says.
I know the Falcons went either 97 or 98. I can't remember.
Yeah.
The Broncos won back-to-back Super Bowls, and I think it was the second Super Bowl that they played the Falcons. Next, we have offensive tackle Bryant McKinney from Miami. Played 2 years, All-American, Outland Trophy winner. Was it the 2000 or the 2001 Miami team that had just all the NFL players on it?
That was the year that had all the Miami, the 2001 one. And Bryant McKinney was the the absolute stalwart at the left tackle spot.
Right. So he's going in the Hall of Fame this year. Next, we have defensive lineman Corey Moore at Virginia Tech. 3 years there, 166 tackles, 23 tackles for a loss, 35 sacks, and 6 forced fumbles. 98 and 99 Big East Defensive Player of the Year, All-American in 99, Lombardi and Nagurski Award winner in 1999.
I do not remember him because that was during the Michael Vick. That was just before the Michael Vick years.
Yeah, I would say that was right before Michael Vick got there. The next one we have is Michael Stonebreaker at Notre Dame, which it looks like his career is kind of weird because they have his years as 86, 80, and 90. So I don't know what happened in those middle couple of years. 220 tackles, 5 interceptions, and a 2-time All-American.
That was a little bit before my time.
Well, the next one we're going to come back to because that's probably the one we'll spend the longest talking about. Defensive back Troy Vincent, Wisconsin, 88 to 91, 192 tackles, 4 interceptions, first team All-American, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year in 91. You got anything?
No, I don't. Let's get a little bit before my time.
This guy, we talked about it pre-show. I had to dig for this guy's information just because at the time the internet wasn't what it was, and the FCS wasn't as popular as what it was. Brian Westbrook, which I remember him more for his days in Philadelphia, but he was at Villanova, 9,512 all-purpose yards at Villanova, which I think to this day is still an FCS record. 89 touchdowns. He had 4,500 yards rushing, 2,600 yards passing. He was an All-American, 2-time A-10 Player of the Year, 2001 Walter Payton Award, which is the FCS version of the Heisman. Yes. I know now. I think it's the Jerry Rice Award. But I think it was the Walter Payton Award before that. I remember him more for his time in Philadelphia than I do at Villanova. But looking up these numbers, he was just a man among boys out there.
The only reason why I knew that he was from Villanova was because I would always that was always my great little trivia ace in the hole of where did Brian Westbrook go to college.
So that was literally in Philadelphia's backyard.
Yeah. It's kind of that's not fair that they were able to scout him constantly. However,
before you scouted every FCS player too.
Yes, absolutely. The game recognizes game. Good job on them because he was. And God, was he a stud in the NFL too? He just kept being.
It's sad that him and Donovan McNabb never won that Super Bowl.
I blame more of Donovan McNabb than I do Aaron.
I didn't blame anybody. I just said it's sad they didn't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. No. I can blame McNabb.
Okay, that's fine. The next one is D'Angelo Williams, which, man, this guy was a monster at Memphis. 6,000 yards rushing, 55 touchdowns, 6 yards a carry, 10 yards of reception, 3-time Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year.
I think D'Angelo Williams was the first time Memphis or what I call Tiger High really got on the map.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for him, I don't know if Memphis would have been able to get the guys that they got later on.
Right.
Because
that was what they could show. Hey, we developed this guy.
Exactly. They were able to say, hey, we could put guys in the league, and then that's what kind of opened the door for everybody else.
So we skipped over this guy, and he doesn't need an introduction. We're going to give him one anyways. 2007 AP Player of the Year, 2007 All-American, O'Brien Award, 2007 Heisman, 2008 Manning Award, Maxwell SEC Offensive Player of the Year, 2008 National Championship, Mr. Timothy Tebow. 9,000 yards passing, 88 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, almost 3,000 yards rushing, and 57 touchdowns on the ground.
Multiple-time national champion, because I even count.
He was on the 06 team, but he didn't.
He was on the 06 team and scored a touchdown in the 06 game.
I contribute that one to Chris Leak, but
I get it. But
the one thing I remember from that 08 national championship was who was the quarterback? Was that Sam Bradford at Oklahoma at that time?
And they
through.
That was I thought they beat Ohio State that year. They beat the Troy Smith.
That was their first one. I'm talking about their second one.
Their second one. Yeah. Okay. Was that Sam? That was Sam Bradford.
And Sam Bradford threw the pass on the sideline, and that Florida linebacker came in and just wiped out the receiver on the sidelines. We talk about it all the time. We're still waiting on the 30 for 30 on this Florida Gators team.
So much. So, and it gives testament to Timothy Tebow being able to hold up.
You have Timothy Tebow. Who was his backup?
That'd be Cameron Newton.
Cam Newton stole a laptop, got kicked off the game. Tight end.
That'd be the South Beach killer known as Anthony Hernandez.
Right. I love Percy Harvin. I don't know if he ever got into some trouble, but Percy Harvin was on that team.
Yep, Percy Harvin was.
The Pouncey twins were on that team. No wonder they won the championship.
The Pouncey twins. So was who was the white wide receiver they had? It was Austin
Riley Cooper.
Yeah, Riley Cooper. Yes, Riley Cooper, who has also gotten some infamy as well.
Yeah, so we're waiting on this 30 for 30 on the Florida
and we didn't even get to their defense, which also had the guy who tried to shank a Georgia player during the middle of the game.
I remember those Florida teams. They were just terrible to play.
Yeah, they were a nightmare.
Tim Tebow, they went to Ole Miss and they lost, and I don't think they ever lost again.
No, because he even made the vow that
to never lose again. 48-7 as a starter in his college career, and man, it didn't seem like he couldn't leave Florida soon enough.
Oh no, I remember his recruitment, and I still curse the day that Mr. Shula couldn't get him into Alabama where they sucked. No, he had to go down there with Urban Meyer and dominate.
Right, which he made Chris Leak look. Like you watch Chris Leak's Florida teams, and you watch Tim Tebow's Florida teams, and those teams just look so different.
Yeah.
Like he made Chris Leak look so
pedestrian.
Thank you, because I was going to say basic, but pedestrian.
Yeah.
When you look at their talent.
And Chris Leak was an absolutely fantastic quarterback that should deserve his credit, but he never did because he was overshadowed because
he was overshadowed by Tim Tebow.
He was overshadowed by Tim Tebow, who just takes all the eyes and everything just gets sucked to him.
Right. So now that's all the players that have gotten there. James, I'm going to run through the coaches and then we'll go through our gripes.
Oh boy,
Hall of Fame. I'm going to go to the two guys that just kind of are noted here on mine. Monte Carter. Coached at Lakeland from 81 to 86 and Shepherd College from 97 to 2017. 30, 24, and 1 at Lakeland, 245, 93, and 1 at Shepherd, 275, 117, and 2. And overall, 12 conference coach of the years, 19 conference titles, and my favorite stat that I found doing this whole thing, 0-13 in the NAIA playoffs. James, I think if you went 0-13 in a playoff this year, I think in today's era, if you go 0-13, you're not going to have a chance to go 0-13.
Absolutely not.
So when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." So I felt the need to note that. The next one is Roy Kramer, who coached at Central Michigan from 67 to 77. Yes, we love MACtion. They were not in the MAC yet. 83, 32, and 2. He was a two-time IIAC champion. Good? Okay, good. The next one we're going to talk about was Paul Johnson, who I remember just tormenting us with an option at Georgia Tech. 97 to 01 at Georgia Southern, 02 to 07 at Navy, 08 to 18 at Georgia Tech. He was 62 and 10 at Southern, 45 and 29 at Navy, 82 and 61 at Georgia Tech, 189 and 100 overall. 2 times FCS champion, six conference titles, 2-time FCS Coach of the Year, the Eddie Robinson Award, the Bobby Dye Coach of the Year, 5-time Conference Coach of the Year, and I'm not sure why they vacated the 2009 ACC title, but that's in there somewhere. But I still counted it as a conference title.
Absolutely, I do too.
I just remember. Reggie Ball was the best player for Georgia as the Georgia Tech quarterback. But if anybody else but Reggie Ball was on that team, Georgia Tech team.
There was this. Reggie Ball was looking great because he was throwing it to a freaking Megatron.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because that was Paul Johnson had a huge part in developing that Calvin Johnson guy.
Yeah, sure he did. Yeah, absolutely he did.
there's a reason why Calvin Johnson blocks so well at the NFL level because he did a lot of that in college. But again, shouts out to Paul Johnson. I hated seeing him torment Georgia, but I loved watching them. I loved watching them torment everybody else,
including Tennessee. Thanks.
And, yeah, you're welcome. The other guy also tormented Tennessee a few times. Wait, do you have anything else on Paul Johnson? Or you?
No. I just think I think if he would have left Georgia Tech a little earlier, I think this would have been a no-brainer because of what he did at Navy.
Yeah, because he had some bad last couple of years at Tech.
He had some really bad Georgia Tech teams at the end of it.
The next one was Mark Richt, coaching Georgia from 01 to 15. He was under Bobby Bowden at Florida State as the offensive coordinator before that. And then he coached Miami for 2 years, which I typed that wrong. I have from 2019 to 2018.
Yeah. I knew you were 60. I knew you mixed up your 9s and 6s. It's okay.
145 and 51 at Georgia, 26 and 13 at Miami. 5-time SEC East champion. Won the Coastal in 2017. Won the SEC twice. Coach of the Year twice. ACC Coach of the Year. Walter Camp Coach of the Year. I remember just being very angry with Mark Richt because he was very conservative. The one thing that I will always remember about Mark Richt is the 2012 SEC championship game where Georgia's down inside the 7 with no timeouts in less than 30 seconds, and we run approximately one play. That was the tip pass that Calvin Ridley caught at the 2-yard line. I don't know why that's the play that sticks out to me. I mean, and the AJ Green play, which really had nothing to do with Mark Richt.
I think of Mark Richt. I think of a guy who knew what Georgia had and tried to build Georgia into what it is now. He kind of showed that it's possible.
He always underachieved.
Well, I also think that he had difficulty outside of a few quarterbacks. I feel like he was always a quarterback away from being really good.
Well, you had David Green.
Yeah, David Green, not great, but solid.
Shockley.
Once again, athletic and one of his better ones.
Then you had Matthew Stafford come in.
That's the one I'm saying that he's the really good one.
And then you had, never mind, I'm not going to say that out loud, Joe Cox.
Yep.
Why y'all ever wish Joe Cox? And then we got Aaron Murray.
Yeah, which I mean, he was great. He was good for what he was, but when it was Joe Cox and
at 07 to 08, because Stafford got drafted in 09. So that time period, I feel like is a time where he underachieved the most.
I agree.
Because you had him, Noshawn Marino. I think AJ Green was a freshman. Matthew Stafford's last year there. Muhammad Massaquoi.
You had guys like was it? I'm always for some reason. Did you guys have a guy last name with Rambo on that team too?
Corey Rambo, but
Rambo, yeah.
That was but he was a safety. But that was in the 2010s. Who was the tight end I'm thinking of?
Anyway.
But I just obviously I have it here that he won things, but I just felt like he underachieved, especially in that 2007-2008 team.
He is an amazing builder, but he could never get the team over the hump.
All right, James, I'm gonna let you go on your soapbox about Johnny Major. Then we'll do Mike Leach, and then we'll do the player that, as of right now, will never make it in the Hall of Fame.
All right, so when I say Johnny Majors, do you think of a Hall of Fame coach?
I started looking to his stats today, and I don't see how you keep him out. He's got a national title. He won at some of the
most difficult places to do it.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, okay. So
look at Iowa State in the Big 8. You know?
Yeah. Okay. So look at this Iowa State staff. Have you actually looked at what was this staff?
I have not. I just looked at the numbers today as we talked about it.
Okay, so you've got Jack Blazek, Jackie Sherrill, who would be the other Pitt coach that was win a national championship. Got Ollie Keller, Joe Madden, Johnny Majors, obviously, Lance Lancewell, This guy by the name of Jimmy Johnson. You might have heard of that guy.
Wow, that guy. Yeah. I did not know he was on that Iowa State staff.
And King Block and
do you Gordon mean the Smith. NASCAR driver Jimmy Johnson? Isn't he a little too young for that?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about that Jimmy Johnson guy. I'm talking about the guy from Port Arthur, Texas, that might have also coached a few other teams.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But yeah, you got that. You've got guys like we talked about Gale Sayers, we talked about Torrey Dorsett, we talked about these guys that he coached. I mean, he finds this young man out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. You might have heard of him. He was really into God at the moment at the time. He was always into ministry and everything. I think he really missed out on his calling of being a minister. This guy Reggie White. Have you heard of that guy?
Reggie White. I feel like that name rings a bell somewhere.
Yeah, that name should ring a bell.
Rings a bell somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, he
got drafted to go play baseball, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did.
Okay. And we're thinking about the same person.
We are thinking about the same person. Yep. Johnny Majors took terrible jobs and turned them into decent, either great jobs or national championships. So he took Iowa State and he won games at Iowa State during the Big 8 when they were loaded to the gills.
Right, because SMU was in there at that time too.
Yes. Yeah, you had Texas, you had Arkansas, you had Nebraska, you had just death everywhere.
A&M, the few years they were good during the Big 8.
So you have all that. Then he goes to Pitt, wins the national championship at Pitt, for God's sakes. Then comes home, builds an absolute terrible, and when I mean this, Tennessee was in the dumps after they left. And he builds them up. I mean, everyone talks about 88 still in this town of the 88 Sugar Vols, of them being able to finally come out and actually show back up in the national stage from many years in the wilderness. So this isn't our first time, folks. So you have all that. And the only reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame as both a player and a coach, because he's already in as a player. Because if you need to look at something, look at Johnny Majors' player stats. He was amazing. Look, he's only not in there because of one thing. And it's going to tie right into yours. So I'm just going to pass this little hot take over to you. He has a .575 win percentage.
I'm actually going to talk about we kind of talked about Mike Leach first, and he's sitting even closer. He's sitting at like 59%.
Yes.
And he took the same Texas Tech, Washington State, Mississippi State, and we kind of in our tribute show kind of went on about Mike Leach. So I'm not going to go on. I'm not going to go on too much about that, but I will go on about the player to my left over here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there. Everybody's left. Yes.
Right. And he wears 13. I don't know if you guys know that.
Oh, trust me, I know. There was a Facebook picture for a month with his number on.
And you look so beautiful.
I know you did. I know you loved it.
Stetson Bennett is the, what do we say, 5th starting quarterback to win 2 or back-to-back national titles.
Back-to-back, sir.
So if we think about that, that hasn't been done. They were the first team to do that in college ball playoff era. That hasn't been done since 2010, 2011 in the Alabama team. And everybody that watches this knows I was not the biggest Stetson Bennett fan last year. I saw a lot of inconsistency, but James, you and I were talking about it this morning. Please tell me the story of college football the last 2 years without Stetson Bennett. I'll wait.
Well, it starts with this young man out of Utah Community College named Josh Heupel, and
right, absolutely. He just recruits Stetson Bennett to Tennessee, and they just terrorized the SEC for 2 years.
Yes, yeah.
That sounds legitimately like the story I was going to tell.
No, seriously. In all seriousness,
Stetson Bennett has played in 4 playoff games. How many times has Stetson Bennett been named offensive player of the game?
I believe you told me this stat, so I'm gonna make
2,
you. Yeah,
3.
Not 3, but 4. Yes,
4 for 4.
Yeah, he's batting 1,000 right now.
Until the College Ball Hall of Fame changes their criteria, Stetson Bennett is not eligible to be in the College Football Hall of Fame.
And it's a shame that it has to be that you have to be an All-American because he did not put up the stats that Hendon Hooker, Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud were putting up during the season. Because in his defense, they took the air out of the ball usually by the second quarter.
Last year, they won despite having Stetson Bennett. This year, they won because they had Stetson Bennett.
And trust me, I watched it firsthand. I was there. I saw it.
You seen it?
I seen it. He was a different player this year. He was way more dynamic, way more of showing off his not that he's the fastest runner or he's the best runner.
Well, he's deceptively quick.
He knows how to get the first downs and touchdowns.
I think he had something to prove because he'd never been the one all year. So he had something to prove. I defended him all year against who shall not be named. That's my quarterback. We win because of him. So because you played with Caleb Williams and C.J. Stroud, which both played last year, not Sam Howell. Why do I keep doing that? Drake May played this year, played out of his mind. Mm-hmm. Because Stetson Bennett was never a first-team All-American until the College Football Hall of Fame changes their criteria. He's not eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame.
And is it really his fault that all those other quarterbacks were throwing for 4,000 yards, multiple touchdowns, low interceptions? I feel really bad because the other three guys that were in New York had amazing stats. How are you not going to put those guys as All-Americans?
And I've said it when you and I talked about it outside of this show. I didn't feel like he should have been there. And I will still continue to stand by that. I don't feel like he should have been in New York. But when you vote him 4 out of 4, what do you expect him to do in the playoffs with a guy that's had a chip on his shoulder his whole career?
Yeah, and you know what? And he has an amazing story, and I really do hope so because he is a real life Rudy, not whatever Rudy actually said he was. He was real because he was recruited by Georgia, goes to JUCO, comes back to Georgia.
Wait, hold on. Here's an interesting story. While at Belen Junior College, I think is where he was. You know where he was originally committed to go?
Where?
Louisiana. Go play for Louisiana Lafayette.
I played with the Fighting Billy Napiers.
Well, this was 17, maybe. Yeah, I think it was Billy Napier.
It was the Fighting Billy Napiers.
But yeah, and Georgia, they lost Justin Fields. They lost Jake Fromm.
State Farm.
State Farm is there like a good neighbor. Jake Fromm is there. And they needed a quarterback. Justin Fields transferred out, and that's how Stetson Bennett ended up back at Georgia. He will have a statue outside.
Wait, you actually do statues for outside of your mascots?
I don't know, but if I had a vote, as our friend says, if you vote me college football commissioner, if you give me a vote, my vote's yes. And this is the guy that you can ask anybody. I wasn't the biggest fan of last year.
Oh, you weren't, and
with reason, of course.
With obvious reasons. He is. I would have said before this year, I would have said there's no way on God's green earth you would let him be in this conversation.
Right.
But this year kind of shown that he has more dynamic to him, and he just needed the time and someone to tell him it's okay to mess up and make mistakes so he can play with less of a consciousness and more of a reckless abandon, because when he was doing that, he was very electric and very entertaining.
I didn't mean to go down this avenue. What do you think of him as an NFL quarterback?
I
don't see why he couldn't go. I think he could do. Jake Fromm's bouncing around the NFL on practice squads right now. I don't see why Stetson Bennett couldn't go be a backup quarterback.
He has a characteristic that I hope translates to the NFL. Now I'm going to admit that scouting NFL quarterbacks has been such a crapshoot lately.
Right, absolutely.
Because I thought Malik Willis was going to be really good. He's turned out to not be.
But how much of that, and we're not going to go deep into it, but how much of that is what Tennessee doesn't have around him that's not Derrick Henry?
That it could be, but I mean, Josh Dobbs.
Because we saw Tannehill,
but he lost out to Josh Dobbs, who is very limited as a NFL quarterback.
I mean, I understand,
and I love Josh Dobbs, and I love what Josh Dobbs could do.
When your offense is Derrick Henry, then
anyway, that's
beside the point. Put another running back there and just run the option the whole game. Continue. I'm sorry,
but I mean, for him, he has to be in the right position. He has to be in the right location. He's also the problem with him is that he's shorter. I know that's not as big of an issue, but in the NFL, those guys are bigger, taller, faster, stronger than what he's dealt with at Georgia. And he's not going to have the clean pocket that he did this year.
I don't know if you're going to find another Brock Purdy situation, but if you do, Stetson Bennett could definitely be that guy where you're not asked to lead the team. You're asked to not lose the game.
But I don't think Brock Purdy's doing that, though. I think Brock Purdy was a playmaker that just nobody gave.
Had a bad year.
Huh?
Had a bad senior year.
I think, yeah. I mean, and it wasn't a bad senior year. It just wasn't as good as his junior year was.
Well, James, we have waited about as long as we can to talk about this, and I'm not going to talk about it for long. Okay. This happened, in case anybody didn't know this happened. Georgia beat TCU 65-7. Stetson Bennett, 18 for 25 for 304. 4 touchdowns, 2 more touchdowns rushing. Branson Robinson had 2 touchdowns rushing. If I ask you what is Georgia's offense, what player are you going to name?
I mean, it went through Brock Bowers.
7 receptions, 152. Also, hasn't the offense gone through him all year and somehow TCU to get the memo? Your boy Ladd McConkey, 5 receptions, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. The one thing I'm impressed with is this defense just absolutely shut TCU down.
Mm-hmm.
TCU had 188 total yards. Quentin Johnson had 1 reception and is probably going to be the first wide receiver taken.
Yeah. And he as he should be.
So this is what happens when you tackle in space.
This is what happens when you tackle in space. If it wasn't for the monsoon that was happening outside the outdoor gazebo that is SoFi Stadium, I believe PETA would have been there to stop the senseless murder of all those horned frogs.
You know what I thought of whenever I was watching this? I need JR saying, "Stop the damn match."
There was a bunch of that going on. There was the kid crying, "Stop, stop, they're already dead." I mean, this game lasted literally 12 minutes. Not in game time.
Game time, in real time.
Not in game time. Because literally 12 minutes.
And the only time TCU did anything, I think the corner fell down or got caught looking in the backfield.
Yeah, that was a deep pass, and then they
Max Duggan threw it 100 feet in the air, and I'm not really sure why, because that ball took forever to come down.
It did.
Well,
and that was something that like Georgia had done that before, and then they buckle down. They just go, okay, that was that. Okay, now congratulations, you got your shot. Now we end this. Except for against Ohio State, and I believe that just it was Ohio State blitzkrieging them.
And I've said it all week. I've said it for the last 2 days, 3 days. How long it's been since the championship game? I blame Ohio State for TCU's just absolutely shellacking. Because the one time that Georgia played a close game against Missouri, Vanderbilt 55-0. Auburn was like 40. Well, Auburn was like 34-10, and then Florida was 42-20.
Yeah. And then you guys were ready for another game that you guys just outside of that one Jalen Hyatt pass that should have been caught for a touchdown. Sarah McLachlan has been out there a lot in Georgia. Does she have property out there?
Shout out to Josh Pate, because Sarah McLachlan's been short of lunch this year. I want to share one story that has zero to do with the game itself. It happened after the game. Kirby Smart talks. It's a story. Goes up into the nice little coach's office they have, and his son's in there crying. And he's talking about, well, he's going to have somebody put my son down, knocks him over. Why are you crying? Why are you ruining this moment? Stetson's gone. It's Kirby Smart's response. He's 25. It's time for him to go.
I mean, he's the definite of the meme of Captain America going, "No, I don't think I will." He has gray hair. He's going to be collecting AARP checks.
And then my other favorite thing that I've seen is it's a meme with Stetson Bennett. It's normal for people to spend 7 years in college. And the guy goes over here, yeah, they're called doctors.
I mean, shout out to Van Wilder for that.
Well, the way that Stetson Bennett played and carved everyone up, he is a doctor on the football field.
Oh, God.
James.
See, this is why I knew Georgia was the next Alabama, and you guys are starting to prove it right, which is.
And you just love that for us, don't you?
I mean, the roll type, the 85 are really annoying and everything, but you guys bark at people.
I don't do James.
You don't.
Am I the most? What's the word I'm looking for?
Rational?
Yeah, maybe that's the right word.
It is.
I'm probably the most level-headed Georgia fan you know.
Yes, you're right. You're the only Georgia fan that I have not seen take a child to UGA picture day.
Like, well, I don't have a child to take, but
I know. No, my other friend, that when his daughter was born, the first thing they did was take her to go see UGA.
All right. Well, James, as we get into talking season, because we don't use the O word around here.
No, we do not.
Do you have anything you would like to say to wrap up this college football season?
I obviously was much more entertained with this season than previous seasons for one obvious great reason.
Because South Carolina took you to the woodshed and knocked
absolutely.
Out your
they knocked our kingdom down. They tore it down.
It's okay because Spencer Rattler decided he's coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Tennessee has some receipts for his.
Rent's going to be due that weekend, all right? Rent's going to be freaking due. We're going to be – you have to pay that back up. He's going to have to go pay the piper for that one. Anyway, no. Honestly, this season was I thought, I hate to steal Josh Pate's line some more, but I'm going to I think this was more of a renaissance season than last year. For as much things that were similar, there was so much more change because who would have thought that Sonny Dykes was going to take that below 500 TCU team?
I was going to ask you, what was more interesting, TCU making the playoffs or Cincinnati?
Cincinnati. See, like I felt like Cincinnati, it was like they had a solid progression because the year before I thought they really deserved to be in there. And then this one, they were just like, okay, we're leaving no doubt this time.
For me, it's TCU because I felt like TCU, once they got there, was, and you and I picked TCU to beat Michigan, but I felt
by the way.
Right. By the way,
good job.
Oh, we're patting myself on our backs. James, do you know who won the bowl pick'em?
That's not me.
Well, it's me. I felt like once TCU got there, they were more equipped to win a game, especially when I saw Michigan was the draw. So to me, that's why they were a better story to me because once they got there, they felt like they belonged, where Cincinnati felt like they were outmatched no matter who was in the playoffs.
Well, and in their defense, I believe that last year's Alabama team was way more physically capable of imposing their will and doing quote unquote whatever they wanted to, which is what Georgia did Monday night.
Wow.
Than Michigan ever dreams they could be.
Well, James, on this day of celebration, we also have to show appreciation. James, you and I have been talking for a while about kind of doing our own thing. And we have decided that now is the time. I want to thank Matt and Keith and everybody associated with Rocky Mountain that has watched us. You gave us the opportunity, these two idiots, to kind of sit here and do whatever they wanted to do on camera, and as long as it was related to college football. I was working on a project for them when I stumbled upon James. So I just want to.
I'm going to cut that off there. because it was a Facebook ad you posted.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I forget if it was College Football Universe or something like that.
Well, it was in a podcast page. I was looking when in the talking season, since we don't use the O word around here. I was looking to step back from podcasting and more manage things. So I was looking for somebody to cover some conferences. And James and I talked, and James, you're from Tennessee, and I'm from Georgia, and we just kind of clicked off immediately on college football. So this channel and these people, kind of brought us together as a team. And you and I just have this stupid chemistry that I don't understand. I don't know how to put it. You're actually going to be in my wedding in a few months.
I don't know how. Yeah, that's the most wild thing.
By the way, I haven't even known you a year yet. But I just want to thank these great people over at Rocky Mountain. They do great work.
Yes, they do.
They have a great passion for the Broncos. College football out here is about to explode like you don't even understand. And I wish you guys the best. James, do you have anything to add to that, man?
So what I'm going to say is that, just because we're stepping away from them doesn't mean I think that this gives somebody closer to the area that's going to be able to cover that boom Absolutely. Way better and way more in depth than we could ever do. Absolutely. And it's not that we would not care or anything about that. It just makes more sense for us to be big picture and everything because we're such junkies. I mean, who in the West Coast is going to care about a Wednesday night MAC game between Eastern Michigan and Eastern Illinois in an absolute blizzard?
That was one of the best scenes of the year. But you're right. We are going to step away. We are still going to be around. We just won't be as connected with these guys. But I really want to give them a big shout out. I've worked with Matt for about the last year and a half, and he's been nothing but good to me. Anything I've needed, I've said, "Hey, Matt, this is what I need." He says, "Okay, let me see what I can do for you, make for you, whatever." Keith, same thing. Keith puts together these awesome graphics that you guys get to look at.
Keith's helped me out when you were busy and everything on the Saturday morning. Keith was there to help me out so much. It was, I can't say anything more about him. He was a dang rock star when I needed him the most. He was the big rock there. So.
These are just some great people that you guys need to pay attention to and appreciate what they do because there's a lot of work that comes in and makes us look like idiots, but yet we sound so smart. So
exactly.
I want to put a big thank you to you guys. We're still going to be around.
Yeah, we're just peacocks. We gotta spread our wings and fly.
And we may be back. Who knows? Wherever the wind takes us.
Exactly.
So I want to thank this whole team. They've done great work for us and helped us out. Celebration on the 2022 season. I don't have them saved on here. I'd post them. Go check us out. We've got the No Huddle podcast page. We've got College Football Sports Network, where we're college football all the time. That's where the podcast is going to go. Just stay connected with us, guys, and we appreciate you guys letting us in. James, if you have nothing, I'm going to let this roll us out.
All right. Let it roll, guys, and thank you so much for a great 2022 season, and we'll be here in 2023 still.